right, it is my hope that you are fine this evening. Good evening and welcome to our broadcast tonight. We are going to give you top stories that happened during the day today, but later on, remember, we'll be having that discussion on Thursday, 9th November 2023. President William Ruto gave his inaugural State of the Nation address to the bicameral parliament, but was that really the state of the nation? We look at that tonight with Professor Fred Ogola, who is a governance analyst, and Nick Mwadime, who is a youth leader. That is later on in the broadcast. But first things first, we start with the day's top stories tonight. Anne Njeri Njoroge, the businesswoman at the center of 17 billion shillings oil importation saga, reappears amid tiff with government authorities. EPRA announces monthly oil prices for November. Diesel and paraffin reduced by 2 shillings as super petrol remains unchanged. Kenya signs 4 MOUs with Romania as European market appeals to the East African nation. CEOs of 7 state agencies summoned to explain why they collect payments in cash instead of government's digital plan. My name is Denis Omondi. Sheila Kinyaga is on the sign language interpretation. We start with a story that has been on top of news stories almost 2 days now. Kilifi-based businesswoman at the center of the 17 billion shillings diesel import saga has resurfaced. Anne Njeri Njoroge was on Tuesday found at Nyayo Estate in Embakasi, Nairobi, after a week of disappearance. Njeri went missing on Thursday last week, shortly after recording a statement at the DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road. Anne insists that the oil in question belongs to her, further explaining that her tribulations began after she applied for approval from the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, to import 100,000 metric tons of oil. Anne was separated from her lawyers and taken to an unknown place by people she believes are police officers. Lawyer Cliff Ombeta and his team say their client's life is in danger. Still on petrol, but now on the prices. Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, has revised the prices of diesel and paraffin downwards by 2 shillings to retail at 203.47 and 203.06 per litre respectively. The price of a litre of super petrol has, however, remained unchanged, retailing at 217.36 shillings. EPRA says that the government was prompted to stabilize the pump prices to cushion Kenyans from increased landed costs. Without the stabilization, a litre of super petrol would retail at 229.37 shillings, diesel at 223.29 shillings, and kerosene at 206.70 shillings. A CBK report this month had revealed a decrease in international prices, explaining reduced pump prices in the neighboring Tanzania. Meanwhile, motorists hit hard by the high cost of living occasioned by high fuel prices now want the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority to lower fuel prices further to give them some reprieve. Their plea comes days since President William Ruto and Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir hinted at possible oil price hikes brought about by global factors.
The pinch of the pain at the pump can only be explained well by Patrick Sironga, a matatu operator in Nairobi.
75% hiyo imekuwa fuel, 25% gharama ya gari na mshahara ya dereva. Hakika hii sekta ilikuwa ndio tegemeo, lakini saa hizi imekuwa ndio imetufinya zaidi.
The past few months have not been easy, he tells me. His daily average earning is barely enough to sustain his family. Sironga's story is a replica of the burden of high cost of living many Kenyans have to shoulder, occasioned by hikes in fuel prices, as Kenya's Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority (EPRA) reviews the fuel prices in the country. For Sironga, the latest review is just a drop in the ocean, and he can only hope the prices will be a little bit friendly.
Hatuwezi sema ati ni mambo ya global, lakini serikali iangalie katika Levi Fund ipunguze, ili hata sisi kama driver tuwe tunapata kitu katika maisha yetu.
But if recent remarks by President William Ruto and Energy CS Davis Chirchir are anything to go by, Kenyans will have to wait a little bit longer before they can see light at the end of the tunnel. On November 7th, during a parliamentary meeting at State House, the head of state was quoted saying his hands were tied, while Energy CS, appearing before the National Dialogue Committee, hinted that the prices could hit a record high of 300 shillings as a result of Israel-Palestine war.
Albeit we can't do much on the international pricing of petroleum, which has soared from $70 to $80 to $90. And I read an article in the Financial Times the other day, because of the Hamas and Israeli war, that the international prices could go up to $150. And that would literally mean our products going to a high of 300 shillings per liter at the pump. We hope it doesn't get there.
Such comments create little hope among Kenyans, some taking to X, formerly known as Twitter, expressing fears of further fuel hike in the near future. One user at Fred Ouko wrote, "The green holiday is over and April is about to bury the hopes of an entire nation." And another user at Senior CJ wrote, "April is just about to do their thing." Whether EPRA will increase or lower fuel prices is a judgment no one is making. Sironga can only hope that EPRA will heed his call and ease his frustration at the pump. Auma Evans for KUTV, Nairobi.
Now, from that one to matters international relations, Kenya will broaden its cooperation with Romania to cover areas of mutual interest, including agriculture, environmental conservation, ICT, and disaster management, among others. This came out of a joint presidential press conference on the first day of a three-day state visit by President of Romania, Klaus Iohannis, who was hosted by President William Ruto at State House, Nairobi. Ruto reiterated that more attention will be paid to trade and investments so as to boost exports and improve trade in the country.
In the mid-morning hours of Tuesday, President of Romania Klaus Iohannis was welcomed at State House, Nairobi, with gun salutes and an inspection of a guard of honor ahead of their meeting with President William Ruto. The two heads of state proceeded to sign a memorandum of understanding between the two countries concerning environmental protection and climatic change, food safety, agricultural research, cooperation and diplomatic institute and Foreign Service Academy of Kenya.
To set off the process of actualizing our common agenda in these areas, we also witnessed just now the signing of 4 memorandum of understanding: environment protection and climate change, cooperation on sanitary, veterinary and food safety, agricultural research and cooperation, and diplomatic institute and the Foreign Service Academy.
The two presidents also had a discussion on the current state of the relations between Kenya and Romania, where they explored the potential opportunities that exist between the two nations in line of trade and investment, agriculture, cooperation in ICT, and political and diplomatic dialogue.
We have in this regard reiterated the imperative to escalate our cooperation across all spheres of mutual interest, including political, social, and cultural, and diplomatic domains. During our discussions, we have deliberated on a wide range of subjects across various areas of common interest: trade and investment, environment conservation and climate action, political and diplomatic dialogue, cooperation in ICT, agriculture, and of course, the people-to-people.
Climate change was also a point of interest in the meeting, where President Iohannis commended President Ruto in his strategies and roles in efficient management and advocacy for climate change. On his side, President Ruto called upon his Romanian counterpart to support the Nairobi leaders' declaration that advocates for climate change in Africa.
During our discussions, I requested His Excellency the President to join me in advocating for climate action and calling upon developed nations to work with us. And I have requested him directly to support the Nairobi leaders' declaration that positions Africa as a continent with opportunity, as a continent with renewable.
I have expressed my appreciation for the role of leader undertaken by President Ruto and Kenya in the efficient management and fighting climate change. And we've agreed that our administrations cooperate tighter in this respect.
In the joint press brief, President Ruto commended President Iohannis for leading the conclusion of an economic partnership agreement between Kenya and the European Union.
It is also important that Europe has finally concluded the discussions with Kenya, and the economic partnership agreement will be signed, as I said, in December. That will now consolidate our position and provide new opportunities for Kenyan enterprises, for Kenyan business people, for our agricultural products, for all our farmers.
The agreement, according to President Ruto, will be passed by the European Union Parliament and signed by the European Union President on 17th December in Kenya. Sylvester Ogembo, Kutv.
Of environmental protection.
Our first short break is due right now, but we are coming back with more on the other side of the break. Don't go too far.
Can you believe this man? To him, women are just like pieces of meat. And worse, he makes them fall in love with him and leaves them heartbroken. What kind of man are you?
The first time I saw Dylan, I knew we'd be together forever and ever. It's destiny. He loves me. We'll make a family. Who is Nambi? Nobody.
Do you still think you're man enough to step into my shoes? Then be my guest and take a minute.
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Technovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
Lola is an app that gives you a chance to watch videos, listen to audios, and read articles wherever you are for free. Motivational stories, dramas, campus life, technology, lifestyle, adventure, sports, academics, jobs, entertainment, and more. Download Lola now on Play Store. All you need, you got Lola.
Kipindi hewani ni mitindo ya kipwani. Kama ilivyo kipindi hiki kinahusu nyimbo za taarab, chakacha, midwara, midundiko, bila kusahau mapishi. Ambao ndio uti wa mgongo wa pwani ya Afrika Mashariki.
Jamani swaibu zangu mliopo maskani, hatuonani wenzangu, najua mwanitamani.
Hapa Kutv, nahodha mwendesha chombo cha baharini, yani ua linalonukia na kuvutia waridi tamu.
I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland, and I'm the main coordinator of the Cafe project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Eva Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting-edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
Hello everyone, this is the new chapter of Let's Be Fit. I'll be host DiCaplo. I'm here to give you various workouts. I'll be having different trainers. We'll have Zumba classes, we'll have aerobics classes, we'll have box exercise, we'll have kata box.
This and that, you study. If you're not in class, you're in the field.
Najua students mnapenda kulala. What I do when I get broke.
If the money is not enough, we find some of us wenye tunaingia in betting.
Tukuna challenges mingi.
Now we're here 4 years later, about to graduate. What do I say?
A loving husband and father. Nothing is too good for my daughter. An ambitious businessman with a dark secret. A girl with a whole life in front of her, plunging into a marriage that she did not choose with the wrong man.
I'm not ready to marry Zema.
But who is the right one? I love Nambi. A rock star, living the dream. But the babes keep chasing me, Agissa. It ain't easy being famous. Especially with so many glamorous women around. A woman hell-bent on revenge.
He will pay.
Seductive, dangerous. She is a predator. Everybody needs it. Everybody wants it. They will do anything to get it. Love and wealth.
Tunakula usiku tuachane na break kwanza tuende lunch chapo ndio kama ndivyo
Rasha piga shada kuna giza siki nice tujinaice weke story kata maji pia shada liko nasio nikosa mtupo si stress kama rende kisha basi nipe najua ni
big up, brother, you are Adriba, big up, sis, big up, shows, mama, big up, oh yeah, wase wote, okay, my principal, big up.
Money me okoka, whatever me say no, I know, I know, dancing me shika machine ani, kila choche kila mtaani, dancing na leta burudani.
Welcome back. Senators and members of National Assembly used today's sessions to debate President Ruto's State of the Nation address delivered to a joint sitting of both houses on Thursday last week. According to nominated MP John Mbadi, the speech by the president seemed to emphasize on the promises made during the campaign season that are yet to be fulfilled. Kimani Ichung'wah, the majority leader in the National Assembly, on the other hand, defended the president's speech, stating that it focused on a government that cares for its citizens.
Members of Parliament today gathered in the National Assembly to deliberate President Ruto's speech that was delivered last week. According to Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, President Ruto demonstrated himself as an accountable leader in his work.
And he stated that was to come and give an account to the people of Kenya on the measures taken by their government under his leadership to give full expression and effect to the soul of our constitutional dispensation by implementing our national values and principles of governance as cited in Article 10 of our Constitution.
Ichung'wah also emphasized that citizens were satisfied with President Ruto's speech, highlighting that the country is heading in the right direction, especially in economy recovery.
Excitement, Honorable Speaker, and satisfaction that we have a president who now appreciates that this is a government that belongs to the people of Kenya. And in his opening statement, Honorable Speaker, he spoke to the measures being taken by the people's government. And if I may paraphrase, Honorable Speaker, actually read out, he said the measures taken by their government, the people's government.
However, nominated Member of Parliament John Mbadi criticized his speech, stating that it was filled with promises that should have ended after the elections. He further emphasized that President would have presented crucial matters.
Mr. Speaker, the President sold us hope. And today I've also listened to the Majority Leader. He has sold us excuses. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to remind the two leaders that you cannot sell hope and excuses 14 months into your leadership. I want to remind them that this administration has taken 25% of the time that they were given by the people of Kenya, if at all the people of Kenya gave them.
In the Senate, the tale was the same. Majority Leader Boni Halole stated that the country was contented with the speech, citing that the nation is heading toward a positive direction despite the challenges faced.
I don't want to make the mistake of taking a lot of time in moving this motion, walking through the same speech, which members are familiar with. But just allow me to make a few points of highlights. The first one, Mr. Speaker, being the fact that the country was impressed with the president's commitment to the need for us to transform this country.
Senator Sifuna, however, criticized the speech, claiming his absence during the parliamentary session during the president's speech was because he knew President Ruto would mislead the citizens. He argued that the president's speech should have focused on the people's situation rather than the government state.
Mr. Speaker, is doing the very same things. In fact, this year alone, it has bludgeoned more people than Moi bludgeoned during the time for multi-party democracy. As a leader of the opposition, I know that I have a right under Article 35, a right that Boni and his generation fought very strongly for me to be able to express my disaffection with the policy of government by protesting, by picketing.
This debate comes few days after the president delivered the speech, with opposition leaders failing to agree on its contents. Masi Wanjiru, KUTV.
Thank you so much, Masi Wanjiru. That story forms the basis of our interview or discussion tonight. We are looking at the State of the Nation address by President William Ruto. MPs and senators debated it today. It was given on Thursday, and was it the true picture of what Kenyans are going through? Tonight, we have divergent opinions. Some feel that it was representative of what we are going through. Some feel, no, this is not it. The president simply glossed over important matters. To look into this tonight, we have Nick Mwadime Mwangi, who is in studio with me. He is the National Executive Director, MKUSA. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much, Denis. Glad to be here.
Okay, thank you. And joining me virtually is Professor Fred Ogola, who is a strategy and governance expert. Prof, good evening and welcome to KUTV tonight. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. It's nice to be here. I look forward to hearing from you what is the state of the nation on this, but of course I have something to tell you.
Okay, I can't wait for that. Just starting on that note, Prof, when you wait for the state of the nation, you expect something solid, something that is explanatory. Is this what you got from the speech that President Ruto gave, the first one of its kind for him since he became president?
Not really, because the nation was expecting something to change. I was on studio that day in another station, and people gave the expectations. People expected the cost of living to be brought down. People expected to mention the issue of security, which is happening in Sondu area, among other parts of the country. People expected the president to announce himself on the matters of education, health of people, and actually not say, I will, but that this is happening. But the speech was more of, again, promises. There was just a spree of promises. And the president has been known to be very good with giving promises that Kenyans want to hear, but not really delivering on them. So I think that it was underwhelming. But to be just to him, there was one thing that for me I picked, that if at all the president was serious about it, is the main thing that can solve the whole issue. He says that we need to pull together. You know, when the president says we need to pull together, for me, pulling together could mean that he realizes that whatever he was trying to do alone, he can't do it. And maybe also discover the people within Kenya Kwanza who are his cabinet cannot help him to deliver his promises. So pulling together means he needs the support of the private sector, the support of the civil society, the support of religious organizations, the support of the youth, the support of women, the support of professionals in Kenya, among other people. So that for me, if he goes to go on to explain, from the private sector, I want you to help me this way so that I can pull together. From the public sector, help me that way. Religious organizations, civil society, youth, women, among other members of society, requesting them to pull together, and pull together how? Because if I tell you to pull together, I have to tell you how you should pull together and which direction. If the president takes that seriously, that should be the only thing that will have found fundamental. But the rest of it, there were just some other inconsistencies. For example, I was taking with a serious concern when he said that there is a border person who has borrowed 740,000 shillings. And that border was mentioned. He said there's somebody who has borrowed over 1 million shillings in those few days. I was just looking at those figures and I realized that that was impossible, because it looks like that person was borrowing something like over 25,000 shillings 2.5 times per day for 3 months and 6. So I was just realizing there's some inconsistencies, because if a border can borrow 745,000, then why are they really doing border? Because some of us, no matter how silly, we might not qualify. So there were truth about his statements, there were inconsistencies, there were things that can take us forward, but also there are some things which are underwhelming. So that's the objective measure of what which was all about.
Yeah, sure, Prof. I know it seems like you are very good with numbers, because even yesterday during the tree planting exercise, I saw you punching some numbers to do with the amount spent by CSS to fly planting trees. But that's not the topic of debate tonight. I want to give the same chance to you, Nick.
Yes.
Professor says it was largely underwhelming in his own assessment. From your side, did the president address the things you think should be addressed in a state of the nation?
Thank you so much, Denis. To me, it was a very sad moment, because the president, again, he has failed to address issues that really matters to Kenyans. This evening, we cannot tell clearly where we are at as a country, because the poverty level is still going higher. We cannot address the cost of the living. We cannot address the cost of fuel. We cannot still address the cost of unga. We've recently seen blackouts in this country, up to 3 hours. So these are some of the things that the president is playing hide and seek with Kenyans. And the speech, as Prof is saying,
again, in my view, the president is still in campaign mode. We have seen that the speeches are still in continuous, talking about what he will do, what he plans to do, and what he has done figuratively. And it is a very state. I want to agree with ODM chairperson John Mbadi that he is still selling false hope to Kenyans. Kenyans day by day are getting irritable, are getting impatient because we cannot see where we are going as a country. So many lives are not accountable by how we are feeding as a nation.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Prof, let me just come back to you. People are saying, you said, Nick has said here, that the president sounds like somebody who is still in campaign mode. He should not be selling hope to Kenyans. But don't you think that it is the duty of him as a leader, as the president, to give Kenyans the belief that we are actually in the right trajectory?
You see, I launched a book called Solomonic Economics, and one of the things is that this is the path to world class for Kenya, using knowledge-based economy. And in that book, I say that world class performance begins with what's called objective reality. You must be sure where you are and be objectively so. So when the president says that we have made progress, everybody knows today, 14th of November 2023, if you go back 1 year from today, which is November 2022, Kenya's life could have been better than what it is today. And everyone says today life is harder than it was the same date last year. So if he says we have made progress and have stabilized the economy cannot stabilize when the Kenya shillings move from something like 115 to 155. Economy cannot stabilize when the fuel has crossed the 200 mark and now is almost hitting 130. And now when he says that, or 230, and now when they say that the fuel can actually hit 300, that is not a symbol of what's called a stable economy. Honesty is put here. Fuel lands in Mombasa at 90 shillings per liter. Now they're selling it at something like 217. Where is all that money going? So there are so many things the president here to tell Kenyans the truth, because there's no need of campaigning. That's why it's called campaign speech. There is no need of campaigning because you're the president. For the next 4 years, you will be in that state house. Why don't we just tell Kenyans at exactly where we are and where you will take us from that hole? According to me, there was no honesty. In fact, if you have a duty to tell Kenyans where they are going, be honest to them and tell them where they are going. Now, they talk about the G2G oil deal, where we know the government is completely inefficient. And when the government is inefficient and they try to do business in another country, inefficiencies in government will make the deals become inefficient, therefore expensive. And that's why the oil expensive in Kenya. Other countries, oil has declined. For us, we are being told that it's going up and it's going to up because of the global market, and that's not true. So what I'm trying to say is that the president needs to tell Kenyans one, and I can tell you this honestly. Give so that you can take. If you give, you can be able to take from people. For example, if you give Kenyans 10 billion shillings in their pocket today, that money actually will be collected by you. But if you only want to take and you don't want to give, you suffocate the economy and you suffocate Kenyans.
Okay, Prof, I know we are about to go for a break and I also want to release you. But before that, when you talk about honesty, don't you think the president is being honest when he says there was COVID-19? The president is being honest when he says there is a war in Ukraine, there is a war in Gaza. There are all these things, global pressures, global factors that interfere with the supply chain and make all this cost of living thing go up. Is he being honest when he's quoting and citing all these challenges?
Maybe we can even go back by saying when Uhuru Kenyatta said there was COVID and he said the COVID is not because he said that they were what they call the people who are trying to play with the oil prices. But I can cartels, they call them cartels, but let's not go there. The point I'm trying to talk about is that there was COVID, yes, but during COVID, where Kenyans were locked in their houses, not movement, the oil did not go that level. So what is it that is taking us here? So there was COVID, yes, there's war in Gaza, there was the issue of Russia and Ukraine. But are there the reasons why Kenya is having this challenge? Why is Ugandan oil cheaper? Why Tanzania oil cheaper? So the main problem is internal, it is not external, because in economics we talk about systemic problem. Systemic problem should affect all countries, 180 countries in the world should be affected. But if it's only affecting Kenya, then there is an internal problem here. So according to me, honesty, he has to show the correlation between this and this. In yesterday's press statement, I gave people I gave them a formula, how you can bring the price of unga to 105 per 2 kgs. I was able to come with a formula on how to bring the oil prices, the fuel prices, from 117 to 120. So it is possible to do it with an economic formula, but we cannot use faith and the rest. But the president can address the state of the nation as a duty because he has to do it. But if he has no concentrated Kenyans, I think the president will be given advice by professionals in economics like us who will tell him how he can fix the economy, but the gap around him cannot help him. So that's my main statement, and thank you very much, my brother, for having me here today.
All right, Prof, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We take a short break. We'll be right back in a short while. Not go too far.
Bye. Sure. Bye-bye.
This man, to him, women are just like pieces of meat. And worse, he makes them fall in love with him and leaves them heartbroken. What kind of man are you?
The first time I saw Dylan, I knew we'd be together forever and ever. It's destiny. He loves me. We'll make a family. Who is number? Nobody.
You zero think you're man enough to step into my shoes, then be my guest and take a minute.
I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland, and I'm the main coordinator of the Cafe project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Eva Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting-edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
Welcome back. You're still watching State of the Nation with myself, Denis Omondi. We have just released Professor Fred Ogola, but we are still in studio with Nick Mwadime Mwangi, who is the National Executive Director of MKUSA. Thank you so much once again for being here.
Thank you so much, Denis.
I'm looking at the State of the Nation, and I'm convinced that this should be the opportunity for the president to be accountable to the people who are sort of his subjects.
Yes.
And when you want accountability from your president, you look at what he's saying, what he does. Listening to what he said on Thursday, well, did he sound like an accountable leader?
Well, Dennis, the president did set his own examination, and he wants to again mark his own examination. He puts Kenyans in a very awkward position to accept, to even imagine that this country is doing well. We understand carefully that our country is not well. We are currently in ICU because if we are having the shilling dropping by the day and having the dollar rising by the day, something must be wrong somewhere. It's either his economic advisors are lying to him or he's not taking advice from anyone. So the State of the Nation, to me, it was just another way of telling Kenyans lies after lies after lies. Yes.
But he wouldn't agree. His supporters wouldn't agree that he said lies.
Yes.
Of course, we've looked at that speech. There are facts.
Yes.
There are half facts. And there are...
I'm really curious when you're talking about facts, Denis, because I also listened to that speech. When he talked about the agricultural sector, right? He talked about fertilizer. going down for the farmers, right? We know that there are sectors or areas of this country whereby fertilizers are still very expensive. Farmers are still struggling to go back to the shamba. We know that the issues of pesticides is still unbearable, Denis. And the president is still not coming out very clearly how he's going to control the issue of agriculture sector in this country. We know that the issue of coffee, tea, and milk is still very unbearable for the farmers. That the prices that they are selling to the factories are still very low compared to the previous years, Denis. That I am really curious to understand what facts that he's giving on this state of the nation and the facts that are really actually on the ground. Yes.
Because the president was so big on, let's say, agriculture, like you say. The president was big on things like health, universal health coverage. And this looks like it was the president giving us, these are the things that I have done in the 1 year. But we also wanted to hear, what are these things that you said you'll do in the 1 year and you did not do, and why did you not manage to do them? So on that point, I'd like to ask you, what are some of these things that you would have wished to have heard from the president and he did not talk about? I heard people talk about the cost of fuel. Like, for example, we have just seen today, IPRA just revised the cost of petrol, diesel, and of course, paraffin. It did not touch, let alone the cost of electricity in this country. What are some of these things that you really wanted to hear from that speech but just did not come out?
I will start by the issue of universal health coverage. One thing that on the record that it is not President Ruto who started this project, rather than the former President Uhuru Muigai wa Kenyatta. That is one. Number two, I'm very keen to understand that currently in HIF we used to pay 500 shillings, right, to get the services that you need, right? People are currently paying a figure between 1,000 shillings to 1,500. And the challenge that we are foreseeing that most hospitals are denying Kenyans even to accept NHIF because there are things that we cannot see, or we cannot receive the issues of health based on if there are no funds, Denis, right? NHIF is a sustainable program for people who cannot afford high cost of medical. But if the president is not coming out very clearly on how a common mwananchi will be able to go to any hospital and still get a good medical coverage using NHIF, then there's no any form of report that he can give during the state national address. Number two, you've talked about the fuel price, and it is still sad that when President Uhuru Kenyatta left this country, at that moment, President Ruto was still the deputy president. He downplayed the issue of COVID and Ukraine, right? He cannot give the same excuse that he downplayed at that moment of time. It is either he's conning Kenyans, or he thinks or he perceives Kenyans to be very stupid. So at no point that him as president can he try to deceive further Kenyans. What can he do to make this country better? One, address first the issue of unga. He promised that within 90 days, the issue of unga will come from 250 to 90 shillings. That has not been addressed. Address the issue of electricity. Denis, I cannot buy tokens previously at 1,000 shillings and get 53 units and currently get 27 units. That needs to be addressed, right? Address the issue of overtaxing, that each and every sector currently as we speak is being taxed. How do Kenyans produce more revenue or get little revenue here, Denis, and get more taxed? That's not feasible, right? So those are some of the issues that the president ought to have discussed during the state national address.
yes, address the issues of unemployment, right? It is growing by the day, that the young people are still coming out of universities with no single hope.
Now, when you talk about unemployment, and I just want to look at what the president was saying. He was also very big on the housing project. He's saying we have 46,000 projects going on throughout the country. They are targeting over 700,000 of such units. Are you not convinced that this is going to create jobs?
Well, let's be very practical, Denis. Not so many comrades have done civil engineering. And if I have done, for example, a Bachelor of Music, am I going to sing in those building sectors? Let us be very practical in matters of employment, Denis. The president needs to set clear standards that he promised the comrades while he was looking for votes. That the issues of housing is a non-issue, Denis, because we understand that there are so many courses that comrades are doing in university, not just structural, right? There are people who have done teaching, right? As the issues of teaching being addressed, Denis. There are people who have done medicine, right? As the issue of doctors, we don't have enough doctors in hospitals at the national level, at the county level, right? The president cannot downplay the issue of unemployment, right? He's seriously playing a lot of games with Kenyans, right? He's messing the emotions of Kenyans. People are getting frustrated day by day, Denis, and that is a sad state to report.
Okay, and I just want to look at the figures that were being given yesterday. You had the professor in the first part of this interview speak about figures, some that were not adding up. But I want us to look at the Hustler Fund statistics as given by the president yesterday. According to President Ruto is saying 36.6 billion has been disbursed from the Hustler Fund. 2.3 billion of this are actually savings. Kenyans have saved 2.3 billion shillings via Hustler Fund. 7.5 million Kenyans are repeat borrowers, people who have borrowed more than once. And 73% of them actually pay back this money. Top borrower has borrowed 4.5 million shillings. A Kenyan has borrowed 4.5 million shillings. And the person has done via 816 transactions. At the same time, 631,491 are top voluntary savers, and we are having 20,000 groups that have received 151 million shillings. Remember, you can access this fund individually and also as a group. But when you look at all this, initially it was allocated 20 billion shillings. It was reduced to 10 billion shillings in the last budget. And then the Treasury came to request, we want it now at 5 billion shillings, something that is this successful. Why is the amount being reduced, amount that is being loaned to people? Do you believe Hustler Fund is a success story?
I will not downplay the issue of Hustler Fund, because currently as we speak, I understand that so many Kenyans use this fund to ensure they take care of their day-to-day cost of living. However, I'm very keen to understand the whole scenario of reduction of the amount should be discussed at individual rate. Can we get a success story to the highest bidder, that is 43 million? I'm more disturbed this night, Denis, because I don't feel encouraged whereby this guy has to persistently borrow the money, right? It means that this guy, for the rest of his life, he's indebted to pay the Hustler Fund. That's number one. Number two, what are the measures, or how is the Kenyan market perceiving on how he's going to produce more funds so that he pays the loan, right? Because if the Kenyan market itself is not recipient to productivity, then this guy, there's a high probability that he's going to take more and more loans. And finally, I'm yet to know, because this Hustler Fund has a lot of gaps that the government needs to take care of, right? We need to get the exact statistics that report how many young people are taking the Hustler Fund, how many middle-aged people are taking the Hustler Fund, how many elderly people are taking the Hustler Fund. What are the projections that this fund that was used or was borrowed has economically contributed at individual rate to enable one person to move from one poverty desperation to a different level of it. Such things that is what the president needs to report at the State of the Nation. Because when you look at the intention behind the Hustler Fund, it was supposedly to help or to facilitate the economic projections of individuals, right? But can we see that at this country? I will tell you why. No, we cannot. Because if the cost of living has gone high, then there's a higher probability that this Hustler Fund will be used to take care of the needs of Kenyans. Okay. Yes, and then finally, because it's very important to say this, Denis, recently, because President Ruto is the party leader of UDA, he did a parliamentary group meeting at State House. Yeah. His MPs are telling him that things on the ground are not as pretty as he imagines, that the people are making a lot of noise. The people are very tired. The people are growing weary. So I'm yet to see, because he is convinced that there are so many ways that he can lie to Kenyans or he can propagate false hope. I'm yet to see what kind of mechanism that he's going to use come these other years.
Actually, if we were in parliament, I'd be told lying is unparliamentary.
The speaker will call you out of order.
Thank God we are not in parliament. But anyway, the last question here tonight is... actually, you are the executive director, Mount Kenya Colleges and University Students Association.
Yes.
Yesterday, on education, the president talked about how they had employed about 56,000 teachers. He talked about 8,200 primary teachers being retooled to teach in the junior school. When it comes to university, which has been on the top of news in the recent past, not for really good, very good reasons, he talked about means testing in funding higher education, but he just brushed over it. He talked about opening the Open University of Kenya, but I want us to be here. We have the issue of delays in disbursement of help funds, and of course the university funding model that many don't seem to still understand how it works. Do you think he needs to explain this better and more? Because we have had them do even media interviews, explain in parliamentary committees and sittings, but people still don't seem to get it.
Denis, the whole issue of education becomes very disturbing to me, because the president reports that he has employed 56,000 teachers, right? Yeah. Yet as we speak, in so many counties, they are still struggling to have facilities like schools, right? If you travel county by county, you will realize that we are still having challenges with facilities. Two, the issue of higher education is becoming a challenge to this country. Recent statistic has been reported that this year we have had a low turnout on joining of campuses. Why? Because parents cannot afford fees to colleges and universities and even polytechnics. And it is a whole issue that the president needs to address, a whole issue that he's trying to ignore, that comrades are growing day by day anxiety. We talk about help day in, day out. Why are there delays? What is happening? That I am a comrade, I get to campus, I still struggle to feed myself. I still struggle to pay my fees.
Okay.
Then the president should simply tell us, Denis, comrades, stay at home. There's no need for coming to school.
Okay, that's where we end it. Thank you so much, Nick Mwadime Mwangi. Nick Mwadime is the Executive Director, MKUSA, that is the National Executive Director, Mount Kenya Universities, Colleges and University Students Association.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Nick, for being with us.
Thank you so much, Denis.
Earlier on, we also had Professor Fred Ogola, who is a strategy and governance expert. That brings us to the end of the news. My name has been Denis Omondi tonight, and of course our sign language interpreter was Sheila Kinyaga. See you again some other time. Have a good night.